And I remember, it's almost like a little miracle. I was here just doing that in this class in Switzerland, and I said, in the products themselves, we're going to be building knowledge. And all of a sudden, the room got either much brighter or much darker. I forget which way it went. And it was enough of a change that I was startled by it. I said, what the devil was that? And somebody in the class says, well, in Switzerland, we don't just have thermostats to regulate the temperature. We also have intelligent blinds that regulate the light. When the sun goes behind a cloud, it opens up, lets more light in. When the sun comes out from behind the cloud, it damps down. Whoa, what an opportune time for that to happen. It was exactly when I was pointing to this. Okay, so that's part of it. We're going to build knowledge into our products and services. Does anybody doubt that that's true? Look at a car today. I mean, they've got sensors to tell you when the tire pressure is going bad. So we're getting much more smarter about the products. Okay, not the production process, we're doing that, continuing, but we're focusing on the products in terms of putting intelligence into them. But there's another whole industry out there. The industrial age, the industry in the United States is what? 1920s and 1930s, it represented, I guess as the agrarian society dropped off maybe by the 40s or so, agrarian went down to 10% maybe, or 15, I don't know the exact numbers at specific dates, but industry was probably 70, at its peak was probably up around 70% or something like that. Don't hold me to the exact number. Where is it today? It's down around 18 or 17%. And the service economy has taken up all of that slack. The agricultural economy is what, maybe 5%, 17 or 18% in industry, and close to 80% is in the service or the knowledge economy. Hopefully it's a knowledge economy. Some people say it's just flipping hamburgers. Well, it's a lot more than that, of course. So rather than this stick of wood that we're trying to squeeze a little more productivity out of it, I think of the knowledge economy like a sponge. Now some people say that sponge looks like a brain. Did you really have that in mind when you brought this? And I said, no, I just wanted a real sponge, not just a commercial one. But this does begin to look a little like a brain. Or an ugly sponge. Thank you. The knowledge age is like a sponge compared to this block of wood. This is kiln dried. You know, I could squeeze this real hard and get maybe one drop. This thing is so full of the productivity potential, just as Peter Drucker's about to say down there in the second quote, the most important contribution management needs to make in the 21st century, the knowledge age, is similarly to increase the productivity of the knowledge work and the knowledge worker. This 50-fold increase. And that's what it looks like right now. 100 years from now, it's going to be this solid block with little productivity improvement potential yet to go. Right now, it's this sponge soaking with water. All I need to do is push my finger at it, and there's going to be plenty of drops on the floor. If I was to grab a hold and honk onto this, I mean, I'd be going like this to get it off of me, right? Do you believe that that's true? Do you believe we have that kind of potential staring us right in the face?
I think the only problem is...
Yes, thank you. Let me give you one example, thank you. One example is meetings. We spend 50% of our time in meetings. Is meetings a knowledge process? Sure, well, it should, well, right, thank you. There's always a realist in the group. The real purpose of a meeting is to get folks together to share information, data, knowledge, and make decisions or get things done. These are definitely knowledge processes. We spend 50% of our time doing that. Do you know how much of that time is wasted? I'm asking rhetorically. I don't expect any of you to know that the answer is 47%. But according to research, 40% of our time in meetings is wasted. Do the arithmetic. Half your time is in meetings and 47% of that's wasted. That's 23.5% of your day is wasted in meetings. Do we know how to do meetings? There's a book called Meetings for Dummies, for crying out loud. Just go read it. You know, it's cost $10, I'm sure, or not much more than that, maybe even less on eBay. You can buy a used copy because it doesn't get worn out. And if you change the policies in your company to hold good meetings, you're beginning to address right where real potential improvement sits or relies. That'd be like grabbing this sponge and squeezing it. I mean, if I could work on 23.5% of your day and make it more efficient, compare that to trying to squeeze this, whoop, almost lost it, to trying to squeeze this block of wood. That's the kind of potential that Peter Drucker is talking about. Thinking about meetings is a way to make that potential a little bit more real to us. I mean, that just sounds like some, oh, sure, Peter, that's great. What do you really mean? Well, I'm sure you could come up with 10 or 15. In fact, in class, we do, somebody did a great thing and they become a chief knowledge officer. Whoa, pat them on the back. Unfortunately, there isn't any money in the budget this year to do anything. So we play the little game, no budget KM. And that started a couple of years ago. It was kind of a fluke. It turns out, I'm thinking now, this is one of the most important things in the class, coming up with the things that you can do that not only cost small amounts, but can begin to show a return in a very short period of time. How much return? Some of you in bigger companies that know anything about the investments your big companies make. What's a good return on investment that your company, not only government, because government says we don't worry about returns, which we know is silly, that they certainly do. It's just a little bit different than thinking about profits. But a commercial firm that's trying to make investments, what do you think is the % return they're looking for? Anybody?
National average is 7.5.
Whoa. No wonder GTSI stock is still $8 a share. Oh, no, it's only 7.5% national. Okay, but they're hoping to get 15 or 20. I mean, if you brought a proposal to the board and said, I'm only projecting 7.5% return.
You're talking about the project level or corporate?
Corporate investments, major investments that.
You have major industries that are 1 and 2%.
Oh, I'm not talking about what they earn in total.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when you bring an incremental project to the board, wanting funding for it.
Those should be from 40 to 60, so the corporate can hit 7.
Okay.
Because you got a lot of corporate overhead.
You certainly do. We'll talk about that offline. Let me just tell you what I think I recall from my training. 15-20% was internal rate of return on return on investment calculations.
You can think of it as the venture capital.
Venture capitalists would look for a little bit more because they're taking more risk. Yeah, but they're looking for more risk to take it. But inside a corporation, it's not usually venture capital kind of money. It's more, but I don't want to get hung up on this. I don't care whether it's even 40%. Okay, let's give you the benefit of the doubt. 40 or 50%. Let's say a corporation would like to see a 50% internal investment returns on projects you're going to bring to them. If you bring a portal to them and you can't support that you're going to return 50% on that $1 million you're going to invest, then don't bring it to us. Okay, so there's one thing we're going up against. Now let's think about some of these little projects I was talking about. How much, yes?
I can give you an example of one this morning if you'd like a real life example.
As soon as I give the arithmetic on this, then give me the example, okay? Let me finish that theme, then I'll be glad to come over there. I'm just going to test some of your mathematics, your recall of your high school mathematics. But before I get there, one question. How much is it going to cost to do better meetings in your company? Do you need a $1 million portal to do better meetings? Do you need somebody to buy that little $10 book, sit down, study it, and say, okay, the policy for this corporation is from now on forward, meetings start at 10 o'clock, that means everybody's there at 10 o'clock. If you're going to have a meeting on subject X, that means people are given information a couple of days or a week before on X so they can be prepared when they come to the meeting, not come there cold. There's probably 10 steps to good meetings. I'm not an expert on it, but we know that's totally manageable, 10 steps. How much is it going to cost? Very little. Very close to zero. Do you think you'll get some substantial improvement on improving meetings when 23.5% of our time is wasted? Yes. Okay, for those of you who are mathematicians, if I take a benefit, that's some kind of a number, and I put that over a cost that's very close to zero, let's call it zero just for the sake of argument, because essentially it is. What does that give me in terms of return? Some positive number divided by zero?
Infinity.
Thank you. Chairman Emeritus of the IT department, who's a mathematician, knows the answer. I'm glad we had somebody here. I knew the rest of you were going to come up with it any second. But that's the correct answer, infinity. Some of these no-budget KMs have infinite returns. Oh, now you'd never want to go to the board and say, well, I can generate infinite returns for you. But that's what we're talking about, something that compared to a 20% or 25% or even 40 or 50%, we're talking about substantial returns on a return on investment calculation. And those are the kinds of returns, regardless of whether they really are close to infinity or not, those are the kinds of returns that people are going to get really excited about. It can happen in 2 or 3 months. The cumulative effect of 4 or 5 of those happening serially is going to make people, not information age people, but knowledge age people, realizing that this new knowledge age is what Peter Drucker says, and we are beginning to get that out of it. And I personally, or you personally, as knowledge workers, are going to see a substantial difference in your productivity. if we focus on those kinds of things. Now, I'm not against portals. I'm not against huge communities of practice and the technology it takes to support many of them. I think that's where we need to be going in KM, but we may not want to go there independent, doing this big thing independent of all these little things that are going to change the culture so that we're prepared for those portals when we get there. There are two schools of thought, I think, in knowledge management. The vast majority of people are in this school of thought, which says, let's go out there and do some major KM projects. There's just a few of us, and you can probably count them on just a couple of hands, that are over here saying, well, you know, we've got to do that sometime. But all the people who are